There is a reason millions of people work hard every day and still struggle financially. And it is not the reason most people think. It is not simply the economy. It is not always a lack of opportunity. Very often, the real cause is something much closer. Something repeated every single day. Habits. Invisible patterns that quietly shape the direction of a person's life. Most people never question these habits. They inherit them from family, from culture, from the people around them. And because these behaviors feel normal, they are repeated for years without reflection. But over time, those habits begin creating a pattern that determines whether someone's life expands or quietly remains stuck in the same place. Tonight, we are going to examine 10 habits that keep people poor. And once you recognize them, you may begin seeing them everywhere. But before we begin, there is one habit on this list that may surprise you more than the others. It is a habit so common that millions of people repeat it every single day without realizing how much damage it causes to their future. It quietly destroys financial progress. It quietly keeps people trapped in the same cycle year after year. And most people never question it. We will come to that habit later in this video. But first, we need to understand how these patterns begin. Because the habits that shape a person's financial life rarely appear suddenly. They develop slowly, often beginning with small decisions that feel harmless in the moment. Over time, those small decisions accumulate. They form routines. Those routines form habits. And those habits quietly begin shaping the direction of a person's life. Some habits build freedom. Others quietly build limitation. So let us begin with the first habit that keeps many people financially trapped. Habit 1. Living without awareness. Living without awareness. Many people move through life without ever stopping to examine the patterns shaping their future. They wake up, go to work, pay bills, repeat the same routines, and hope that somehow life will improve on its own. But hope without awareness rarely changes anything. Because when a person never examines their habits, those habits quietly take control of their future. Money flows in, money flows out, yet the pattern remains invisible. A person might feel frustrated about their situation, but frustration alone does not create change. Awareness does. Awareness is the moment when someone steps back and begins asking deeper questions. Where is my time going? Where is my money going? What decisions am I repeating every day without thinking? Many people never ask these questions. And because they never ask, they never see the patterns that are quietly holding them back. The strange thing about habits is that they often feel normal. If everyone around you behaves the same way, the pattern feels natural. But normal does not always mean healthy, and it certainly does not always mean productive. The first step toward any meaningful improvement in life is simple but uncomfortable. It requires honesty. Honesty about how we spend our time. Honesty about how we spend our money. And honesty about the habits we have allowed to shape our lives. Once awareness begins, something powerful happens. A person starts to notice things they never noticed before. Small expenses that quietly accumulate. Time lost to distractions. Decisions made automatically instead of intentionally. And slowly, awareness creates the possibility of change. Because you cannot change a habit you refuse to see. And many people remain trapped, not because change is impossible, but because awareness never begins. Habit 2. Choosing comfort over growth. Choosing comfort over growth. Comfort is one of the most seductive forces in human life. It feels safe. It feels predictable. And it asks very little from us. Most people naturally move toward comfort because the human brain is designed to avoid difficulty. But the problem is that growth almost always lives on the other side of discomfort. Learning new skills can feel frustrating. Taking on new challenges can feel uncertain. Building something meaningful often requires effort that many people are not used to giving. And so many individuals slowly build lives centered around comfort. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid learning unfamiliar things. They avoid situations that challenge their current abilities. At first, this feels harmless. After all, comfort is pleasant. But over time, comfort becomes a quiet prison, because the world rewards growth. The people who develop new skills, expand their thinking, and challenge themselves regularly create opportunities that others never see. Meanwhile, those who remain in comfortable patterns often find themselves stuck in the same situations year after year. The tragedy is not that comfort exists. Comfort can be valuable when used wisely. The tragedy is when comfort becomes the guiding principle of a person's life. Because a life guided entirely by comfort slowly loses its potential for transformation, and the cost of that lost potential becomes visible over time. Missed opportunities, unexplored talents, dreams that remain permanently postponed. Growth requires discomfort, the willingness to do difficult things today so that tomorrow becomes different. Habit 3. Ignoring financial education. Ignoring financial education. Money influences almost every part of modern life. It affects where people live. It affects the opportunities available to them. It influences stress, freedom, and stability. And yet many people receive almost no meaningful education about how money actually works. Years are spent learning subjects that may never appear again after graduation. But the practical understanding of earning, saving, managing, and growing money is often left unexplored. Because of this gap, many individuals learn about money only through trial and error, sometimes through costly mistakes. Debt accumulates. Savings remain small or non-existent. Financial decisions are made based on emotion rather than knowledge. And slowly, the absence of financial understanding becomes a silent barrier. Education does not guarantee wealth, but ignorance almost always guarantees struggle. Those who study money begin to see patterns others miss. They begin to understand how small decisions compound over time, how consistent saving creates stability, how patience can multiply opportunities. Financial education is not about becoming obsessed with money. It is about understanding the system that influences daily life. And when that understanding grows, people begin to make decisions with greater clarity. Without that clarity, many people continue repeating the same financial patterns year after year without realizing why their situation never improves. Habit 4. Blaming circumstances. Blaming circumstances. Life is not equal. Some people are born into opportunity. Others are born into struggle. This is a reality that history has shown again and again. But while circumstances influence the beginning of a person's journey, they do not always determine the final destination. The problem begins when someone believes that their circumstances are the only force shaping their life. Because the moment a person believes they have no influence over their future, something important disappears. Responsibility. When responsibility disappears, action often disappears with it. Instead of looking for ways to improve their situation, people begin searching for reasons why improvement is impossible. They blame the economy. They blame their job. They blame society. Sometimes these complaints contain truth. But truth alone does not create progress. Progress requires action. And action requires the belief that effort can make a difference. Many people remain financially stuck not because opportunities never appear, but because they have trained themselves to believe that effort will not matter. And when that belief takes root, people stop looking for solutions. They stop experimenting. They stop learning. They stop growing. Blame can feel comforting in the moment because it removes pressure. If the problem is entirely outside of you, then you no longer feel responsible for solving it. But comfort has a hidden cost. Because when responsibility disappears, so does the power to change. And without that power, many people quietly remain in the same situation for years, sometimes for an entire lifetime. Habit 5. Spending to impress others. Spending to impress others. Human beings are deeply social creatures. We care about how we are perceived. We want respect. We want admiration. We want to feel accepted by the people around us. But this desire for approval can quietly become one of the most expensive habits in a person's life, because many people begin spending money not to improve their future, but to improve how they appear in the present. Clothing that signals status, cars that communicate success, lifestyle choices designed to impress an audience. At first, these decisions may seem harmless. After all, everyone wants to enjoy the rewards of their work. But problems arise when appearances become more important than reality. When the goal shifts from building stability to maintaining an image, a person might look successful on the outside while quietly struggling behind the scenes. Debt increases. Savings disappear. Stress grows. And yet the performance continues, because once someone begins living for appearances, stopping becomes difficult. The fear of losing status can become stronger than the desire for financial stability. True wealth often grows quietly. It grows through patience, through discipline, through decisions that may not look impressive in the moment, but spending to impress others often moves in the opposite direction. It prioritizes the present image while sacrificing the future foundation. And over time, that trade becomes extremely costly. Many people hearing this will recognize these patterns immediately. Others will ignore them. But the most dangerous habits on this list are still ahead. The next one is especially common in modern life. Habit 6. Fear of calculated risk. Fear of calculated risk. Every meaningful opportunity in life carries some level of uncertainty. Learning a new skill requires effort without guaranteed reward. Starting a new project involves the possibility of failure. Changing careers can feel unstable. And because uncertainty feels uncomfortable, many people avoid it entirely. They choose paths that feel safe and predictable, paths that promise stability. But safety can sometimes become another hidden limitation, because many opportunities require the courage to step into unfamiliar territory, the courage to try something new, the courage to accept temporary failure as part of growth. People who build successful lives often share one important characteristic. They are willing to take calculated risks, not reckless risks, not blind decisions, but thoughtful actions taken despite uncertainty. They understand that progress often requires movement before certainty appears. Meanwhile, those who fear risk completely may remain trapped in routines that feel safe but offer little possibility for change. Years pass. Opportunities appear and disappear. And slowly, the cost of inaction becomes visible. Fear protects us from danger. But when fear begins protecting us from opportunity as well, it becomes a barrier rather than a safeguard. Habit 7. Lack of discipline. Lack of discipline. Discipline is rarely glamorous. It does not attract attention. It does not create dramatic stories overnight. Instead, discipline operates quietly in the background of a person's life. Small decisions repeated consistently, saving money instead of spending it, working on a skill even when motivation fades, continuing to improve when results appear slow. These actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they compound. Discipline builds momentum, and momentum creates results. Without discipline, even the best intentions slowly collapse. A person may dream of improving their situation. They may promise themselves they will start tomorrow, but without the structure of disciplined behavior, those promises rarely transform into reality. Discipline creates reliability. It ensures that progress continues even when emotions fluctuate. Because motivation is temporary, feelings change, energy rises and falls, but discipline remains steady. It turns goals into habits, and habits into outcomes. Many people underestimate the power of discipline because its effects appear slowly. But over years, the difference between disciplined behavior and inconsistent effort becomes enormous. Habit 8. Negative environment. Negative environment. Human behavior is strongly influenced by surroundings. The conversations we hear, the attitudes we observe, the expectations that surround us every day. If someone spends enough time in an environment filled with pessimism, that mindset slowly becomes normal. People begin believing that improvement is unrealistic. Ambition becomes something to mock rather than encourage. Effort begins to feel pointless. This influence often happens quietly. A person may not even realize how strongly their environment shapes their thinking, but attitudes are contagious. Optimism spreads. Discipline spreads. And unfortunately, negativity spreads as well. When someone constantly hears that success is impossible, they begin lowering their expectations. They stop aiming higher. They stop exploring opportunities. And slowly, their world becomes smaller. Changing environments is not always easy, but awareness of influence can make an enormous difference. Because once someone recognizes how powerful their surroundings are, they begin choosing carefully who they listen to, what ideas they absorb, and what attitudes they allow to shape their thinking. Habit 9. Short-term thinking. Short-term thinking. Modern life encourages immediate gratification. Everything moves quickly. Entertainment arrives instantly. Purchases happen with a single click. Comfort is always available. Because of this environment, many people begin making decisions based entirely on the present moment. What feels good today? What feels convenient right now? But meaningful progress often requires long-term thinking. The willingness to sacrifice temporary pleasure in order to build something greater later. Saving instead of spending. Learning instead of relaxing. Investing time into skills that may take years to develop. Short-term thinking can slowly sabotage these decisions because the rewards of discipline are delayed, while the rewards of comfort appear immediately, and the human mind often struggles with delayed gratification. Those who develop the ability to think long-term gain a powerful advantage. They make decisions based not only on today's feelings, but on tomorrow's possibilities. Over time, these decisions accumulate, and the gap between short-term thinking and long-term thinking becomes dramatic. Habit 10. Believing change is impossible. Believing change is impossible. The most dangerous habit is not always a financial decision. Sometimes it is a belief that improvement cannot happen, a belief that life will always remain the same. This mindset quietly closes doors before they even appear. Because when people believe change is impossible, they stop searching for solutions. They stop experimenting. They stop imagining different futures. And once imagination disappears, action often disappears as well. History is filled with examples of individuals who transformed their circumstances through persistence and learning. Not because their situation was easy, but because they refused to believe that improvement was impossible. Belief alone does not create success, but belief creates the willingness to try, to learn, to adapt. Without that willingness, progress rarely begins. And so the final habit that keeps people poor is not always visible on the outside. It exists in the quiet assumptions people carry about their own potential. Assumptions that slowly shape the direction of their lives. Final reflection. Habits rarely announce themselves. They do not arrive with warning signs. They do not appear dramatic in the moment. Instead, they operate quietly in the background of daily life. A decision here, a routine there, a belief repeated often enough that it slowly becomes reality. Years pass this way. People continue moving through the same patterns without realizing how much power those patterns hold. And then one day they look around and wonder why their situation never changed. But the truth is that lives are not shaped only by major events. They are shaped by repeated behavior, small choices, daily routines, tiny decisions that feel insignificant in the moment. But when those decisions are repeated hundreds or thousands of times, they slowly build the structure of a person's life. Some habits quietly build strength. They build discipline. They build opportunity. Others quietly build limitation. They build fear. They build patterns that slowly trap people in situations they never intended to create. The difference between these two paths is often invisible at first. Both people may begin in similar circumstances. Both may face similar challenges, but their habits begin pushing their lives in different directions. One path slowly expands. The other slowly narrows. And because habits work slowly, many people never notice the shift while it is happening. But awareness changes everything. The moment someone begins recognizing the patterns shaping their life, something powerful begins to happen. They begin questioning old assumptions. They begin noticing behaviors they once ignored. They begin realizing that small changes repeated consistently can lead to enormous transformation over time. Progress does not require perfection. It requires awareness. It requires the willingness to examine the patterns that have been quietly shaping the direction of life. And once that awareness appears, the future is no longer something that simply happens. It becomes something that can be influenced, something that can be shaped, something that can be rebuilt through different habits and different decisions. Some people will hear ideas like these and forget them tomorrow. Life will continue exactly as it was before. But others will hear these ideas and begin noticing things they never noticed before. They will begin observing their own patterns, their own routines, their own habits. And sometimes a single moment of awareness is enough to start a completely different path. Because once you see the pattern, it becomes very difficult to ignore it again. And if you are still listening at this point, then something about this message resonated with you. Something made you pause long enough to reflect. And moments like that are rare. So if this message disappears and you never return, perhaps it was simply an interesting idea passing through your day. But if you decide to stay, then you already understand why this channel exists. Not for noise, not for distraction, but for ideas that challenge the way we think about life, growth, discipline, and the quiet habits that shape our future. Because sometimes the most powerful changes in life begin with something simple. A moment of awareness, and a decision to move differently from that moment forward.